We start tonight with further breaking news, and it's bad news for the Melbourne Football Club, with their superstar Christian Petracca doubling down today, wanting out and setting the tone for an ugly few weeks ahead for the Demons. Nine Network has dominated this story. It broke it originally, and Sam McClure broke the latest phase of it today, and he joins us at the Plasma. Sam, as we welcome you in, this is not what the Melbourne Football Club wanted on a Monday after really 72 hours of drama.
Yeah, that's right, Hutchie. Good evening to you. Said off the top of the show, talked about scripting a movie. This is becoming a horror movie, and quickly, for the Demons. It was 12:45 that Christian Petracca this afternoon had his exit review meeting with the Melbourne Football Club. We'll get to the fallout and the details of that. But first, let's hear from the club, who were, as you'll see in these grabs, as recently as this weekend, steadfast and forthright in their views that Christian Petracca would not be going anywhere.
He's got a 5-year contract, so he'll be seeing it out. We'll catch up in the next few days and have those discussions, but, you know, where we sit today, he will be at the Melbourne Footy Club for the next 5 years. They're the facts, and that's what will happen.
No, we're not going to trade Christian. We acknowledge that it's been a really tough time for him, but our footy club's been built around some really important signings. Christian's one of them.
Yeah, so it was really interesting, Hutchie and team, on the weekend. On the Saturday night, Melbourne Football Club had their end-of-season function. His teammates clearly walked away from that function thinking that Christian Petracca would be handing in a trade request in his exit review meeting today, and then this afternoon at his exit review meeting, the club was left in no further doubt as to what he wanted to do next year, and that is play for a rival Melbourne team in 2025. And there's some reasons that go into this. It all started, in my belief, with the club's refusal to deal with the machinations and all of the significant ramifications that came out from the Clayton Oliver situation last year. Christian Petracca thought that the club was unprofessional in their dealings with him. It went on. The club's management of his injury, we know, and he has been pretty candid about how hurt he was by not just the injury, but by also the impact of the club not particularly dealing with it as well as he thought. He thought he didn't receive enough attention. The club's run of poor form. They haven't won a final since they won the flag in 2021. They've gone out in straight sets. Now they haven't even made the 8. So that's a significant one. And then this is a really interesting one, which I'd love to get your take on maybe to start with, Caro, is that the desire to play in front of big crowds, and it goes into the last and final point, and these two really go hand in hand together. The ability to enhance brand Petracca, and that is Christian makes a significant amount of money away from football with his Instagram, with his cooking show, these sorts of things. He thinks that playing for an even bigger club than Melbourne, and it goes hand in hand with that fourth point of playing in front of significantly bigger crowds, particularly for the Carlton Football Club, which we'll get to in a second, could enhance his brand, Caro.
Sam, it doesn't say a huge amount to me about Christian Petracca's leadership and love of the Melbourne Football Club, where he did sign a multi-million-dollar deal for 7 years when he won the Norm Smith medal. Now, I'm sorry, but how does it correlate the mistake they made on the King's birthday? And we all agree it was a mistake. That for my brand, I think I need to get a bigger profile at a bigger Melbourne club. You wrote a few weeks ago about player power getting out of control. Well, I'm starting to lose a bit of patience with Christian Petracca, and I think it's taken... I don't think he really went on too much, did he, Sam, about the Oliver business and the losing finals, etc. It was more about what they did to him in his injury and brand Petracca and wanting to play for Collingwood or Carlton. Now, that would be a red flag to me if I was some clubs.
The last 3 points that you put up there, so the poor form of the club, the ability to play in front of big crowds, and brand Petracca is a selfish reason to be traded.
He should take responsibility for
so the
one
first
of the
two I
reasons
can't really speak to, and I sort of agree with the management of Clayton Oliver. But this story ends if Simon Goodwin is true to his word, Scoop, which he said after the game on Friday night, we are not trading Christian Petracca. I want to know...
They still have the ability to do that.
Yeah, and that ends. So the ball's in Simon Goodwin's court. I think they
wouldn't be doing their due diligence if they didn't.
Did he reinforce that to him today at 12:45 at that meeting, that we will not be trading you under any circumstance, like he said on Friday night?
The Melbourne Football Club, as we sit here tonight, do not want to trade Christian Petracca.
But do you think they're open to one deal, and that's Carlton?
Yeah, I do. And there were two players that I think they were open to. Charlie Curnow, who has already adamantly ruled that out. And the other one is Harry Mackay. I've written for The Age today and in tomorrow's paper that Dave Trotter, who's his manager, has given me a direct quote saying that he hasn't heard from Carlton about any of this, but Harry is very happy at Carlton.
And you think Carlton are open to Harry for Christian?
Yes, I do. Yeah, but it becomes a very difficult...
This is extraordinary. This is the most explosive pre-finals trade story I can remember for a long time. And the drama around it is quite extraordinary. So, Sam, just two quick ones from me about Melbourne. As we sit here this minute, Gary Perd is locked in a board meeting will Gary Pert or Alan Richardson or even Simon Goodwin, will any of these men be held accountable for this debacle?
Well, that's a great question, Cara. I mean, it's a $1 million question. Clearly, there's some accountability here, not just with Christian Petrarca, but for Clayton Oliver, for Alex Neil-Bullen, for everything that's happened with Joel Smith. I mean, we're not just talking about one trade story here.
And you wrote in your piece in The Age earlier this evening that there was tension between Christian and some senior Melbourne players at the end of season function. Can you extrapolate?
Look, all I can tell you that there was an uncomfortability around elements of the function that was dominated. A lot of it, the talk was about what Christian was doing, not unlike a few years ago, Hutchie, when the Essendon Best and Fairest was dominated by whether Joe Danaher was going to request a trade for Sydney.
There was direct exchanges between he and other senior players.
At the function?
Yeah.
I can't speak to directly conversations that were had at the function. All I can tell you is that there have been some relationships between Christian and senior Melbourne players that have become strained. Now, that's not to say that they can't be fixed, but as I sit here tonight, my personal view is that I would find it difficult to see Christian going back to that football club next year. It may happen, they may turn things around, but there's some toxicity that is now involved.
Fair bit of toothpaste getting out of the tube here pretty quickly, and you'd think Melbourne are going to have to start to have a look at this and take it seriously, Lordo, because they do have on the last day the ability to say no, but they have got 6 weeks now to, I guess, start to get their head around, is the world a little bit better without him?
Yeah, 2 days ago or even a week ago, I'd have said you just fight for Christian and you just say, you know what, we're going to have another year at it where let's see if we can sort things out. But I think it's going past that point. I think that I'm happy to say I've spoken to a couple of his teammates, and they probably think now it's best for Christian to leave the club. So I think that's where it's got to the point where they're frustrated as much with Christian as Christian is with the club. So it might have got to that point of no return. The problem is Harry McRae says no. Well, then the whole thing falls
Charlie
over.
Kerner's already said no, according to Sam McClure. Great work, by the way, by Sam McClure.
Thank you, Sam.
Can we listen to the captain,
We
Max
can in a moment.
Gawn?
Just a quick one before we get to Max. They lost control of this narrative quickly, Melbourne, too, Cara, and that was illustrated on Friday night, the footy, when Christian was agreed to go on the 7 coverage, then he didn't. Then Christian said, it wasn't me, it was Melbourne who pulled me from the interview. Then Melbourne said, no, it was Christian, didn't want to do it late. Can you take us, what happened there, and how is this getting so messy so quick?
Well, while we've got Sam here for one more minute, did Mitch Cleary being part of the interview have anything to do with this?
Yeah, so it was originally going to be Abby, Richo and Luke Hodge on the interview. Mitch Cleary then tweeted about it, or now we know on X. My understanding is that Christian then got cold feet and thought, well, I don't want Mitch, a hard-hitting journo on that panel, asking me direct questions about my future, so I'm not going to do it. So there is some finger-pointing going on here at the moment.
How was it a good idea in the first place? If he wants out, why are you running the risk of putting a superstar on the 7 broadcast?
Melbourne was super keen last week, Matthew, as you were saying.
They've got 10 years here, Cara. They're not listening to him.
Well, clearly not, but they wanted him out there telling the football world he was staying, and that's what they thought he was going to do.
That's clearly unbelievably naive on where he sits in this.
What's his relationship like with the coach?
I'm not that comfortable about speaking to the heart of people's one-on-one relationships. I would personally say that it's not what it once was, but I think that Christian's relationship with a lot of people there has been impacted by the last 6-8 months.
It is an extraordinary story. Thanks, Sam, and well done on covering it today. And it's between you and Tom, who broke the story originally. It has been dominated across the platforms at 9. You mentioned Max Gawn. This is what he had to say on the weekend and his role in this as the captain.
My gut feel is September's still going to be a pretty busy month for us, where there's a lot of noise around our club. So I'm going to make sure we get things going and we get a really good start to our off-season. I'm going to have some good conversations over the next week or two and make sure we grow as a club. And then I'll take off and turn off my phone and get the hell away from here.
Did cross my mind. Is it time for a new captain? In the middle of all these things, do you sometimes need to change the mix-up, as Hawthorn did with Hodge and Mitchell? They've got Jack Viney there who's done it before.
I don't think you can ever turn your phone off. How can you? And maybe it was tongue in cheek, and he just
get the hell out of here.
You cannot do that. This is full time. Every day you've got to be working. How am I going to get better? How's the team going to get better? Particularly when you're in a situation like Melbourne. So, look, I didn't love that from Max Gawn, those comments there, and I certainly didn't love their performance on Friday night.
Meantime, Jack Viney landed it beautifully, and
you called this.
Well, he took the moment in the sun, didn't the opportunity. He had a shadow offer, supposedly, with his Stats Club North, which we accept was there. And then he had all this turmoil. So Melbourne needed a good news story, and they hang to the nearest lifeboat of a good news story. And And no doubt an extra year got added here, and
3 years.
he played them on the
extra
break.
3 years.
So this is where clubs are so stupid.
Alistair
Like,
Clarkson helped out too a bit, didn't
but
he,
you
by
didn't-
his comments?
You didn't need to do anything. Like, he had a year to go. Why do you need to get sucked in?
Because it's so
clubs do-
drowning in the PR story, they were determined to, and it's been and gone.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
So it's ridiculous.
And the
Clubs do
Gawn
it too
contract
often.
is another reason why he doesn't get the hell out of here and turn his phone off.
Yeah,
Just saying.
disaster.
Yep, and then we moved. So we moved to Collingwood and the situation. More on Melbourne through the course of the week, of course, and Wednesday footy class as well.